Tropelchizzo here with a plea to the rock gods. Please subscribe to this channel. I looked at my analytics and 80% of the people that watch my channel don't subscribe. All it takes is 1 second, you hit that little subscribe button, and all of a sudden, you're gonna make an old man happy. So please subscribe to the channel, and here we go. This is tough. Dig, if you will, the picture. Young woman, tired after a long day of shuffling papers at the old secretarial pool, decides to relax with a nice hot bath. Off go the clothes. Wow. Check out the granny underwear, straight from the Driving Miss Daisy collection. Then she slips into the bath. Something to read, perhaps? How about this book? Ancient Weird Religious Rites. Yeah. Good choice. Just what I would have picked. Splishity splash. We're just about to see some side boob, and boom! Who's this guy? What's with the weirdo eyes? This looks like a take on the famous shower scene from Psycho, only this guy's taking souvenirs. What does it all mean? Well, it's just another gory, bloody day in the life of Herschel Gordon Lewis. He being the 60s equivalent of Ed Wood, the Francis Ford Coppola of our time. Herschel Gordon Lewis wrote, directed, and even starred in this piece of shit movie, Blood Feast. Woo! This movie sucks. It stinks. It stinks like an old man cutting a wet fart in a crowded elevator. This movie is a shark in sheep's clothing. One of the first in a long line of so-called splatter films. Gotta say, I just rewatched it. No redeeming qualities. None. If movies that suck had a big kahuna, I'm thinking this would be it. I remember renting this movie a million years ago from the local Warehouse record store. Remember Warehouse? It was that mythological place that sold music. We would rent these movies stoned, be stoned, watch them stoned, and we would laugh until we cried, until I realized I just spent my hard-earned money on this piece of shit. So I guess in retrospect, the joke was on me. Watching this movie made me realize that the horror genre has certainly come of age. The special effects in this movie are so fucking amateur. They're laughable. To be fair, even the first Jaws movie shark looks hokey now, and that was 1975. But what really chaps my hide about this movie is nobody bothered to learn their lines. Look at this. Over and over, you see these so-called actors looking down and reading their lines of a fucking script. It's so obvious. Here's the cop just reading the words he scratched on his hand. Well, you, man. Didn't you realize you were making a movie? Did it not occur to you that it might behoove you to put a little bit more effort into learning your lines? It hurts me deep inside. It's like hearing your favorite vocalist resorting to using vocal tracks. But I digress. After the first murder scene, we cut to the police station, and you guessed it, the cops are baffled. There's a homicidal maniac on the loose. Just listen.
A pathological killer on the loose, and we can't find one clue. Not one fingerprint, nothing. This man's uncanny.
There's a homicidal maniac out there killing women and taking their body parts. And how do I know this? Next up, Fuad Ramses, exotic caterer. An understatement, really. Now, this is Herschel Gordon Lewis. This is him in real life.
Have you ever had an Egyptian feast?
You're a weirdo, man. Seriously. And look at this one standing there with that vacant look. She looks like a stuffed Mrs. Howell from Gilligan's Island. Look at that fucking hat. Is this for real? It's murder, I say. It's murder. They're murdering the visual medium. Well, it's all been arranged. Mrs. Howell and Fuad Ramses are going to have an Egyptian feast, whatever that means. Well, Fuad knows, but he's not telling. But wait, the plot thickens. Through a hidden back door of the catering store, we learn that this man is more than meets the eye. He's cooking a stew. He's a crazed Egyptian cannibal cultist. And the object of his worship? It's the goddess Ishtar. You see Ishtar? This is Ishtar. Ishtar is that rather unimpressive department store mannequin straight from the local JCPenney's. Look at this shit. Seriously, it's not just cheap, it's sort of insulting. He's laughing at us, man, from the grave. This motherfucker is laughing at us. Now here's the beach scene. I mean, this guy is so creepy, it scares me. Listen to his voice. Hey, baby, your parents know you're safe with me, baby. This must be one of the ones that got away from that show To Catch a Predator. I'll say one thing for him. Sexual predator or not, at least he learned his lines. Oh, and look, here comes Fuad Ramses stalking them with all the grace of a giant sea turtle. No wonder the cops can't catch him with those cat-like reflexes. He knocks out Cousin Creepy, and then he just debrains the girl. Just saws off the top of her head and scoops out the brains.
She wanted to leave. She was scared. It's all my fault.
You guys laugh, but this guy is one of the better actors. Did she belong to any organizations? Yeah, she was on some book club list. Ancient Weird Religious Rites by Fuad Ramses. Could this be a clue? No one asks. This book seems to get around. It's very popular in the Malibu Beach community, but you know, they were always into that weird shit. Something's cooking in Fuad's kitchen. Smells like menudo, but tastes like chicken. It's human foot. Fuad Ramses has an evil plan. He's out to cook a stew comprised of all these body parts to appease his mannequin god. A Sunday brunch special. A happy meal for freaks. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. This next scene is almost unwatchable. It is unwatchable. I'm forcing myself to watch, mind you. It's like slowing down at the side of the road for a car accident. You look, but you don't want to look. And the soundtrack is some twisted, out-of-key version of the song How Dry I Am. And it just goes on forever. Look at the guy wearing the captain's hat. I mean, is this some sort of 1960s Hugh Hefner thing? This scene goes on and on and on until thankfully, mercifully, Fuad Ramses takes this girl out by pulling out her tongue. Old school Egyptian tongue pull. The film takes a left-hand turn now because the audience needs to know what's going on. The leg and the tongue and the mannequin. You have to make some sense of it all. So it's time for some exposition. So enter the professor, who spends 5 minutes teaching us all about the bloody cults of the Egyptian gods. Now, apparently, these ancient Egyptians were quite bloody, and they were also cannibals. So now you understand, you see, it's the cult of Ishtar. Now it all makes sense. Fuad Ramses is a flesh-eating cannibal cultist who murders women and then cooks them. Sort of like Charlie Manson meets Hannibal Lecter. Here's the cop and his girlfriend who just happened to be there. Night school for weirdos. Sharing their mutual interest in bloody religious cults. It's nice.
Horrible old man. He said it was for Ishtar.
Here's another clue. Right out in the open. They're just throwing them, but nobody's catching them. Ishtar. Come on, help a brother out. Now here's some boobs. Boobs are always good. Who doesn't like boobs? I mean, they don't really bring anything to the narrative, but they are nice to look at, and they're real. These are 1960s boobs, before all women were converted to rubber. Fuad Ramses captures another woman in broad daylight, just right there in the driveway. He brings her back to his evil lair and proceeds to whip her. Why? Who the f*** knows? I guess it's a bit of titillation for the audience. It really makes no sense, but sure, go with it. This scene was probably considered quite risque in its day, the whole S&M thing. Now, everybody whips everybody.
Ever heard of a man called Fuad Ramses? He runs a catering service. Ancient, weird, religious rites, huh? We found a copy of that on the... Listen, alert all cars, send into the vicinity of 45th and Lincoln. A place called Ramses Catering. I think we got our killer.
Okay. Dumb cop finally makes the connection. Flesh-eating cannibals? Check. Cult of Ishtar? Check. So the cops break into Fuad Ramses' store, and there just happens to be his last victim laid out on the table right there. With a small hint of side boob, I might add. The caterer. Yes, he's the key to all these hideous murders. And OMG, the cop's girlfriend is the main course of the Egyptian feast. To the Batmobile! Here's a strange clip of Fuad Ramses putting a human leg in the oven. I mean, it shouldn't be weird. He is a caterer, after all. Look at the timer. It's priceless. How long does it take to cook a full human leg? Who knows? Let's Google it. The Feast of Ishtar is about to begin. Thank God. Thank God, because it's almost over. Fuad Ramses demands his final sacrifice. And believe it or not, it falls right in his lap. I don't really know you, but sure, I'll just lay down on the kitchen table and offer myself up to your pagan god.
Oh my Ishtar. This is silly.
Oh, wait a minute, she says. You wouldn't sacrifice me on this altar, would you? You know, at this point, I'm in Fuad's corner. Kill all the dumb people. F*** it. This one definitely deserves it. She's as thick as a moose. But right before the machete comes down, cops are here. Too late. We almost had blonde roast. Now we are at the bitter end of this torrid tale. The cops show up to the house, so Fuad has to make a run for it. Sorry, not really a run, more like a Lido shuffle. But you know what? The cops still can't catch up to him. He's still 3 steps ahead of him, even with that bum leg. And then, just because it happens to be there, Fuad jumps into the back of a garbage truck and is slowly crushed to death. A fitting end, says the cop in a metaphorical twist. He died for the garbage he was. Sage words indeed. Woo! Now that took a supreme effort, people. That was more painful than my last root canal. They say that some movies are so bad that they're good, but I disagree. Some movies are just f***ing bad. That was really tough. But you know what? I do this so you don't have to. I'm trying to help. You believe me, right? I'm trying to help. Think of it as life coaching for the terminally bored, because that's why we watch YouTube. We're bored. We need stimulation. Oral, verbal, tactile, subcutaneous. We need stimulation. And if we can't get it from life, then we gotta get it from our old pal YouTube. So there it is. Finished. Please feel free to add your favorite shitty movie that sucks, and maybe I'll review it. It's your old pal Jizzo, rockin' and rollin', and we'll see you next time.